Hello and welcome to Wikipedia Wiki Network here, where Albin Larsson and I, Jan Ainali, are editing Wikidata Live. How are you doing, Albin?
I'm doing great. I actually had a terrible weather here today, but I just stayed inside and made jam and such instead. How are you, Jan?
I'm good. I have had nice weather here, so I've been prepping some gardening, but also
Oh,
been doing actually quite a lot of editing today. So
right.
yeah,
And there isn't a flood. The flood isn't coming where you are, or the storms and such.
it's windy outside, but
It's
no
windy.
floods. I mean, there's water everywhere here in Amsterdam all the time, but
Right.
yes,
A permanent flood.
yes. So what do you have planned for today?
I'm gonna follow a tutorial on how to add a new country to Govdirectory, which is entirely based on like SparkQL. So we're gonna make that query, which is essentially from a tutorial, and I wonder if that will take all of the half the hour. If not, we got another bit of other things around Govdirectory, maybe a bit of editing and such. But aim is to add Finland to Govdirectory.
Nice.
And on your end, Jan.
Well, I sort of one step ahead or after or like before in that process. So I've been editing Wikidata, working on government agencies for one country, and I
Right.
hope I will sort of finish one category today. So I'm working on Timor-Leste.
Right.
I'm not sure about the pronunciation because it's totally different in Swedish. It's totally different name.
Indeed.
Yes, but I think it means the same. But before going into that, I want to show you, this is not so much editing, but this is a fun little game. I'm pretty sure most people hanging around Wikidata already seen it, but we haven't shown it off here, so I was going to show it. So it's based on Wikidata. All the data is from Wikidata. And as it says, you should place the card on the timeline. So I'll press here and I get two cards. One is already on the timeline and it has a date. And then I get a new thing here, and they want to know, En Vogue, the American vocal band from Oakland, when was it created? Was it before or after 1857? And here I'm going to go out on a limb and say it was after, and then it gets green and it's correct, 1989.
Right.
And then we have another here, film out from the past. I think that's somewhere in between. All right, so far so good. Abdul Majid, last Ottoman Caliph and Ottoman, then that could be here.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're getting harder here. French painter. That could be anywhere. Oh, I'm going to shut. Yes, right. Louis VII, that must be earlier. First French Empire. No! All right, so there's... and then I have three here. iPhone, that has to be late. Oh, here's a tricky one again. I'm gonna go here. Nah, too early. Tag Heuer. And a streak of 6. So,
Right.
and that's sort of addictive. Often you go to, oh no, I must do it better. Yes, I sort of got a French theme on my items here today.
Yeah. This reminds me. Actually, you tend to play like a physical card game like this with my
Ah,
better half, where
yeah.
if you lose that round, you get more cards, and the aim is to have as few cards as possible down to zero.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's nice to see this version of it.
Yeah. So it's really fun, and of course, all of the things there are in Wikidata, and you learn over time, like when things happen. And this is, of course, the first French Empire is something very specific. So yeah. All right. So that's just I'm going to give you the banner for this, or so you know where you can go play yourself. But that's not what I'm going to do today. So I ran into trouble editing Wikidata earlier this weekend or this week. And the thing I had was this category of succus in, and this is the German Wikipedia. So this is Timor-Leste. And then this is the the administrative level on Unit 2 in the country. And I know that this category on Wikipedia is complete. So they have all the articles here. And they should all then have Wikidata items. But I looked into a few, and unfortunately, they weren't really well modeled, and a lot of them didn't have anything at all. So I couldn't really query them to get all the items to work from. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to use this category system as the base to create a query so I get the items I can use. So to do that, of course, we need to head into, not on Wikidata, we need to go to query.
The query service.
The query service, of course.
My favorite place.
Yes. And I'm going to select something, and this time I'm going to do like you're usually doing here, Albin.
Right,
go with a star, because I'm not really sure in which order I need to figure things out.
Right.
And what I do know is I want to use the Media Wiki API to get the category members from it. And we showed in previous episodes how you can use the sandbox on Wikipedia to sort of try to figure out what parameters you need to use to do that. And you can go back to check that as well if you want to see how the thinking is. So here I'm just going to jump straight into it. So what I know is I have to get into this, I need to find sort of the name for it that I can throw in. So I'll query for, and I'm going to call this a site link, and using schema about. And the about thing here, that's going to be the category name, which also has an item on Wikidata. So I think it's going to be something like, let's see what my autocomplete says. Suku in Iri. That's the category I want. And now with this, of course, I only want the German site link. So I'll go with the schema is, and I think this is autocompleting, yes. So control space to get this little autocomplete pop-up. And then I'll have to write the long address for de.wikipedia.org/ and that needs to be in like this. And then I need sort of the name for this that I can put in exactly into the API. And that's actually just schema name, very simply. I'm going to call that name. So let's run this and see what I get for now. I don't get anything. Why did I not get anything? I expect if I go name here. No. Do I have a typo somewhere?
Yeah, you have quotes around the URI to...
That's the problem. Shouldn't be quotes there. Like this.
Right.
Remove this and go with the star again. There we go. So now we see we have the name, and this name is what I want to feed into the service for the the API. So let's call up the service. So, and unfortunately, we don't really have a good autocomplete for this yet. Here would be nice if we had some sort of like just get the basics for doing using the API. So I'll have to write Wikibase MW API and put that into brackets as well, curly brackets, and call for the service. And here you can sometimes see it. I don't see it here, but service param is the thing. And we use the Wikibase API. The thing we need is a generator. And then we need to specify which API endpoint we want to use. And this is going to be the German Wikipedia again. And here's the trick. Here you need the citation marks, and it's also not the same. Here it's de.wikipedia.org. So it's easy to fool yourself in these or trick yourself.
Indeed.
Yeah, and I just did, so that's the proof of it. And then we're going to use this generator that we call for. And similarly, like we did in a few episodes last year, when we were working on page views and stuff like that for categories, you're going to use the same generator, and it's called category members. It would also be awesome if we had autocomplete on these, but we don't. And then, of course, we need to tell the API what it should work on. And it comes here, so it's GSM title and MW API first. And here we're going to feed our name that we had over here. So we feed that into it, name. That's all we need to put in to the API, and it will give us all the pages back. But of course, we don't really want the pages. We want preferably the Wikidata items to work on. And we can get almost there. So there's one good thing here. So you could call this perhaps item. It's a good Wikibase. And we get an API output. Here's a number of few things you can get. And last time we used the title to feed in just to show. And now there's also, actually, you can just write item and get something. So let me try to run that and see what we get. I didn't get anything. GCM title. I have a spelling error. It's spelling errors. There we go. So here we see now that we do get something that almost look like items. We can see it's Wikidata IDs, but they are not clickable. This is just text strings. So the query service doesn't know yet how to treat them like an item. So we'll have to bind this to create it. And we've shown this, I think, a number of times for, I think even the last episode, you shown how to do something. You did for a query, but it's sort of the same principle. Now I'm going to do it to turn this into what the query service knows to be, or thinks, or how it treats an item, really. So we'll start with a bind. And what we need to do is we need to concat a string in front of this, and the string that we want to use is quite simple. But I find this tricky all the time anyway, because here it's not HTTPS for some reason. It's HTTP. Maybe it works with HTTPS as well. I don't know.
No.
It doesn't. No.
But on commons, it's HTTPS.
Even better. So I'll go .org, and then here it's entity you want to have, and then we need a slash. Oh, and I need to put everything here in some marks here.
Yeah.
And then concat, and the next thing we want to add for here is just the thing we had over here. That's the item, so I can just go item here. And I need another one to close this, and I need to assign this to something. I'm gonna call these are my these units, so I'm gonna call it a suku. Don't quote me on the pronunciation on that either, but it sort of looks like that. Now we can run this, but this is not completely done yet. But I want to show you here that it concatenated this very nicely, but it still doesn't recognize it because this is still treated as a string. So we've shown that a couple of times as well. And I think you can go with both URI and IRI. I don't really know the difference.
It doesn't matter in this case.
In this case, it doesn't matter. No, all right.
There are cases where it matters, but
yeah. So I'll have to wrap this string part here into that. So I'll just add this IRI, which tells it to don't treat this as a string anymore. Treat this as a link, more or less. And then we get the magic here. It gets the WD, and I can click this and go to this. But even better, now I can also use this in my query. So let me go back up here. So now I want the suku, and I want the suku label. And I want to go over here and get the query service. That's the one. I'm going to start with English since that's the best one. I'll fall back to PT and PEP, which are the official languages. And then I'll actually fall back to DE since I was on German Wikipedia and can suspect that there might be things for that. So here you can always add this in whatever order you want. So let's run this and see. Now I should only get 2 columns here. All right, so here we have them. And looks like we have labels for everything. That's good.
Yeah.
Might be possible to improve them. We don't want the parentheses really. I have 31 here. And of course, that sort of must be the same as in the category because we didn't do anything selection yet. But let's just check that. Well, it says yes, 31 pages. So that's good. So now I can start to see, all right, what I really want to know here is what types are these? What instance of they have? Because I want them to have the instance of Suku in East Timor or Timor-Leste. So I'll ask for type up here. And let's go with type label. Then I also have to say here, and I don't know if everyone has it, so I'm going to make this one as an optional. So I'll still have all the results. And then I know what I need to work on. And I'm going to ask for my sukus to have instance of. Oh, I just noticed I'm in Swedish here. All right, it's not that. Oh, it's not a lot of Swedish in here. I think you'll manage.
No, it's an interesting mix.
Yes. All right, so that's the first thing I want to see. Let me just take a look at that and see what we have, what we're dealing with here. So it seems to be looking quite good. Here we have one that is a human settlement. We have a neighborhood, a neighborhood, a neighborhood, and a neighborhood. All right, let me sort these in a. All right, there we go. So I have 5 items with the wrong instance of. I think that is not really worth doing a, a quick statement for, because it will be quicker to just go into this. So I'll just do that quickly. There's always the trade-off here if you want to create more functionality and such.
Yeah.
This will also give me a sort of a brief look of the item. So here I'm just going to go in. I'm going to change this human settlement to publish. And we'll go in next one. It actually open up all of
As
them.
I see this, I come up with so many interesting use cases for this. Like, for example, I think on a couple of Wikipedias, there are like subcategories to glaciers with a specific glacier type. While in Wikidata, it's almost always just glacier. And then being able to like use this method, but instead of doing it manually with just a few ones like you do, actually like output something for quick statements.
Yes.
And then press a button.
Yeah. Indeed. And I think I'll maybe show a little bit, because there's a few more things that I want to do on these. But let me just quickly get through these. There's maybe a few clicks here. And the last one. Yes, and as people are noticing in the chat as well, they are lacking descriptions and labels. There's a lot of things to do on this. But let me just... what is that auto-identifier tool? Oh, that's a tool here in the top, something Albin built, which allows me to drop a URL, for example, for a YouTube channel. And when I click add, it will recognize that this is a YouTube channel link and add it as an external identifier and format it properly as well.
Yeah, so it detects what type of link it is and what property is connected to that type of link and adds it based on that. But it only worked for a couple of social media because it's built for Govdirectory for now.
Yeah.
But the idea is very much to extend it to work with any property.
And unfortunately, Wikidata Cursor is a little bit slow here, so we don't have an update here. But so I'm going to go forth and add another thing here that I'm interested in. I'm also interested in knowing where are they, and where, I mean, in which administrative... Oh, I have it in Swedish here. And I'm going to call this Muni. They're in a municipality. So I'll go up here as well and ask for Muni and Muni label. And let's just run that. We'll see what we get. And here we see we do get a number of different things. So we have Cristo Array administrative post, which is actually probably not wrong, but it's more specified. So this is one further level down.
Right.
And here we have, and let's see, let's go through it. So we have administrative post, and then let me sort this. And then we have 5 here that says Dili. And I think this is for the town, not for the municipality. So those are actually, let me take a look at that. Yes, so this is the capital of that municipality. So that is actually not correct, because they're not in the city.
Those need to be split?
No, so these 5 need to get this value instead.
Okay.
So they're just in a mix-up. and it's not
Right.
it's not strange that it is because they're a similar name. So,
Right.
and that's 5. That might also be quicker than actually doing something. So let me see the final thing here. Let me see if they all have still the suku, and I'll go with country. Oh, Swedish, of course, if they all have that on them. So let's see. Country. Country label. Okay. A little bit busy here in the. But that was actually all done. That was good.
Nice.
All right. So they're actually just these 5 to do. We'll do them quickly. So I'll open up these 4, 5, and I'll copy this little thing and check out here. So yes, so here where they said located in this is not an administrative territorial entity. I think we might even get a warning here if it loads. No, we didn't. Well, I'm gonna correct this anyway. Then just quickly move through these. Here's the one that didn't have a lot of information. Where is course? The only 3 things I queried for it had. And the final one, I think, yes. Is it one more? No, that was the one. Right. So head back over here and let's see. This one has updated. So yes, they're all now in Sucos. So now we could probably go back and query for it. Maybe I should do that as the final thing. So go to Wiki project. Spelling is always good. Govdirectory. Here's a nice thing. The first white things, these are hits in Wikidata main namespace, and then those in blue are like the actual page, Wikidata colon. So if I click this one, I'll come to the right page and not to the Wikidata item.
Is this from a gadget?
I suspect it is.
Yeah. I wonder if it's from the compact.
No, I don't have the compact, so it's probably
Okay.
another one.
Right, because I started noticing things being in colors all of a sudden, like
Yes,
the
but
status of
that's actually new
properties
in the
and
main
stuff.
interface.
Oh, it's in the main interface. Because that
Yes.
has confused me a lot lately.
Yeah, yes. But it's just last week. And then I'll head into Timor-Leste here, and you'll see I checked all the first level. They are done. And now we're working on the 3rd level. And in total, 452. And let's see if this runs and gives us 452 now. Hopefully it will, because I think this was the last I had left to do. And yes, we do get 452 results there. Beautiful. So now we have 1 level more done here. I can go in over here and make a check mark. On this one. So we're 1 step closer of getting Timor-Leste in a really good shape. This one is really hard because there were added ones after New Year, and we don't really have a good source yet. So we don't know if it's going to be 67 or 68 in total. So we're
So
still.
we don't have a shortcut for Govdirectory, I believe, on.
Perhaps we don't.
But the suggestion here, govd is a great one, and I really think we should add this.
Yes. Yes. All right. That was what. And perhaps before I leave here, maybe let's just share this query so that you can see and get inspired and reuse. So here's the thing that produced this.
And everything one needs to replace to modify it for something else would be.
Well, if you're in German Wikipedia, you actually really only need to change this one.
Yeah.
And if you're another language version, you need to both change the category and the language is in 2 places.
Right. So that's in case someone wants to modify it, because I can imagine, I think this should even be like an example query over at Govdirectory, because it's such a common use case, I believe.
Yeah.
So. Okay. So what Jan just did now, I did yesterday, but for Finland and ministers and for the regions. So I'm gonna take the next step to get them on Govdirectory. Here's Govdirectory. I'm gonna use this as a starting place, and just to show what we're aiming for, we've got a bunch of current countries on Govdirectory. Netherlands is the most recent one. We added this just today. So it looks like this, and it like all the various government agencies can be found here, and the social media like this. That's great. And I want to do this for Finland because essentially we have got something to put here. So I'm gonna head over to improve the data, because then we end up on this page with Jan we're just at. And I'm gonna head on to Finland. Let's see here. Europe, Finland, there we got. And I think we also got like let's see here, a link to how to add it as well. That's a bit of an introduction, improving the data. Do we have this, or should we add it? Add. Add your country. Do we have a link to the tutorial itself?
Oh, that's an oversight.
That's terrible of us.
Yes.
Let's pretend we have fixed that. We're gonna head over to Govdirectory directly on GitHub instead, where we're gonna make these changes. So over at Govdirectory's GitHub page, which is the easiest way to get there is just by Govdirectory down to the footer, finding GitHub, and soon there will be a link on that description page on Wikidata. But we want to head over to the website because that's what we want to modify. And then there actually is a file here that just says add a country, and that's essentially a description of how to add a country to Wikidata. And heading back to Finland to see what do we have to add. So we got those check mark which just John added, like query for all the ministers, which should be 12. Let's see that query is still up to date. I think it should be because I just did this yesterday, but it's a good thing to check them every now and then. And then the regions, so to say. So let's run the ministers to begin with. We get 12 here, and it says in the title here, because we use this great feature title, that we can use like 12, great. And the regions 19, that's great. So that works. So let's see here. Let's head over to the tutorial here and see what we got going on. Govdirectory is entirely based on SparkQL, so we essentially need to write the SparkQL query to do this. And here's an example. It's an example for Sweden. So I'm gonna scroll past that and let's see. And here it explains each part. I'm actually gonna do this bit. I'm gonna copy this into the query service and we will run it, and I will explain along the way. Query.wikidata.org. So it's a big query. But let's run it. There we go. And it just gives us everything that Govdirectory needs to make a page for an agency. And note that it does not actually include the social media and such. It does that automatically behind the scenes. So let's see what we need to change here. So we got this thing at the top, which has like the expected result count, which is actually wrong here for Sweden, which we are aware of. Um, so that's one of those neat way we can do to check kind of automatically as well. But let's head back to let's see, what's the first thing we need to do? Right, it explains this because we can run checks that make sure that the number is still correct. This is just the various things we expect. We don't need to change that. Then this is a very interesting part because this is like the type of instance of each type of ages it should have. And we actually, for Sweden, where we got a lot of them, we actually have like the number we want to return, and I think we're gonna follow that practice for Finland as well. There is a note here about the language parameter because it's like English and then fall back to Sweden. For Finland, we wouldn't like to fall back from English to Swedish, but probably from English to Finnish, maybe to Swedish, and so on. And then we got the order, which is it's not super important for Govdirectory, but it's good to have them in a nice order with maybe things that have a lot of social media should be at the top and such. So that's where we're gonna start because we essentially just need to find the types we want here. So let's head over to the query. We also got this line here where we bind something to country, and here we want it to be Finland. Hello, Finland. So there we go. I'm gonna just remove this and head back to Govdirectory. Let's see. Let's do the ministers. No, let's not do the ministers. I think they are a little bit complex. Let's see here. So here we got the provinces, and we actually have like a Q item for region of Finland. So that's exactly what I'm looking for. So VD, or did I copy all of it? No, I didn't. And then for Sweden, we did something like we wrote what we wanted it to be in a comment here, so we can go back and understand it. I think we wrote it like this even, and then we said the number we expect, and I think we expected 19. Yes. So that's the type, the values being added here to the instance of automatically. I think we ignore a couple of things here, like dissolved and replaced by. So if an item got one of those, it ignores it. And let's also change this to, is that Finnish? I think so.
FI, yes.
Yeah. So something like this, I imagine, should already do it. Let's change that as well to 19 for now. Let's see if we add ministers in a second. Select distinct, all the types we want. Let's get the country, that's Finland. We got the regions. The query then checks for all items with that type. Then it checks that this is actually in the country with P17. It uses minus here to check if it's dissolved or replaced. It does a bit of technical thing, and then it like makes a priority list of the various languages. So let's run this and see if it returns 19 as well. It does. So that's one of the queries we need for Govdirectory to work. Then let's see here. It says we should update the country configuration because that tells Govdirectory to begin with, that these are the countries that we expect to be around. So I'm gonna click on that and you see what that looks like. It looks like this. And I imagine it even, yeah. So here we can see that it kind of have these values again where we listed type previously. But here it gives us like a list of things, like here is the URI for the country. So that's Sweden. Then it says like the name we want to have displayed on Govdirectory. Then this would be the URL. And this is like the description of what is currently included on Govdirectory. If we head over to Govdirectory, we can actually see this if I head over to, let's do Sweden. So we can see it up in the URL, it says Sweden. This is from this query as well. And this string here that says all Swedish government agencies are included. So we can tell a user that. While things like this is done automatically behind the scenes, nothing one needs to worry about. But we need to update this query as well. So I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna open a new tab with query service. Put it in here and start writing. So BDQ, and it's 33, I believe. Then this is one of the places in like SparkQL where we don't add a comma, like with functions with concat, which John just showed a while back. We just need to leave a space. So this should be called Finland, and then we should have it in lowercase for the URL. And then describe what destroyed. Oh, I added a comma. Current. Current content. And this one is to update every time we add like a new type for something. The current content in regions, because that's what I'm gonna start with. And that should be it.
Yes,
Okay.
a typo for includes.
There we go.
There we go.
So, and then we need to make one more thing. So we need to tell like the software here as well that, hey, there's a new query you can look at to find things. And we need to point that out. But I'm actually gonna start, because this is our changes we need to do to like source code, but all the source code essentially in this case is SparkQL. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna head over to the main page here, and I'm gonna click the fork button, which makes a copy of this. I'm gonna fork it just to my account, like this. Forking. Let's see what happens. There we go. And then I should have a button somewhere to add a file. There we go. And I'm gonna say create a new file, because we need a new file for that Finland query. And I'm gonna make this easy for myself. I think what we can do is that we can go to queries, and then we can go to generators. And here we see that there is Denmark, Germany, Ghana, Greenland, and so on. And I think I can say add file here. Yes, I can. Create new file. And it will put it in the right place as well. So I'm gonna say inland.rq, and I do use rq because that's essentially, if you store SparkQL in a text file, that's the file extension. So, and here I'm just gonna paste in that query I got. So let's see here. Where did I put that one? Is it this one?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. So I'm gonna copy this one, head over to this new file, and I'm gonna say created in generator file for Finland. And I can't like say multiply. If you're a software developer, you would know that you can actually create a lot of files with one commit here or one save. But in the web UI I'm using currently, I can't do that. So I'm gonna do it this way. And then someone can merge them later. So we created a generator file for Finland. You can see Finland here now. That's great. The author query we updated was, let's see here, countries.rq. So this we added a line down here. So let's click on the edit button in this case, rather than add a file. Head over to the right query, which is this one. And let's go down here. We got that. Then let's say add. Let's see. And Nicholas, you made a comment here, so I'm gonna pause for a second. Yeah, you can actually. I think the correct technical term would be to use them as maps. It's like the software terms, and it's super cool, and it's incredibly useful. But you can make things like rock paper scissor games in SparkQL using this feature and all kinds of things. Okay, added. What did I use that? Added Finland to countries configuration.
Here's a question about the language we used for the country. For now, we're using only English. We do have on our roadmap trying to make this multilingual, but that's a little bit more work. But we'll come to that. Hopefully, not too far away.
So we are falling back to like the native languages. If, for example, a municipality does not have a label in English, we fall back to the Finnish one or the Swedish one and so on.
But I guess especially there in the countries, fine. We use the English one for now.
Indeed, for now. Okay, but we had one final step, if I remember that tutorial correctly. So I'm gonna head over to the tutorial once again, because we need to tell the software that, hey, this is a new query, and configure the view that's called. We need to tell the Govdirectory software about the new data, and it says that it's done in the views.yaml file. I think we call that in English. And I'm just gonna head over there because it's actually a great example on its own. So I think it's in the rock directory. It is views.yaml. And if we go down here, we can see that it says like Greenland points to generator greenland.rq, which we know now is a SparkQL file. And this output is just where it would be outputted. And this part here should always match the one we added for like the URL part in the countries configuration. So I'm just gonna go in here and click the edit button. I'm on the fork now, where I have all the changes. And let's see, where do we have that list of countries? I need to scroll down, that's why. So I'm gonna copy the Netherlands just. That's a great start. And paste it in here. And just make sure that it's formatted the right way here. Let's see, it should match exactly like that. And replace Netherlands with Finland and Finland. And I removed something, so let's make sure I did.
You removed the RQ as well.
RQ, right.
Oh, and now you remove the...
Oh, I must have some setting on for removing something. Or I'm just a little quick. So let's see. That doesn't look correct.
No.
I broke something. I really broke something.
Yeah, I think you have the insert thing.
Yeah, but it doesn't light up on my keyboard, so I'm not sure why. And let's see. QID. Let's see.
It looks good.
Does that match? The Netherlands, Finland, QID, QID, index, generator, generators, Finland, Netherlands, org, org. Oh, that looks good. I'm gonna say added Finland to views.yml. And it's not spelled like it's pronounced. And I'm gonna say commit changes. Okay, so I think I have now followed the tutorial, added all the changes, and now I just need to tell this main copy of Govdirectory that, hey, I made these changes, have a look at it. So I'm gonna click here, and because it already says me that I have made 3 changes that aren't on Govdirectory main, it's called. And I'm gonna see, it actually says contribute here, like I can give those back. So I'm gonna click this button, open pull requests as it's called. And it kind of shows me what changes is included here, so I can verify that it's correct. Queue number for Finland. Current content includes regions. 19, this query looks correct. And we got Finland there as well. So create pull request. So I can say add Finland. And it got the part here where it says reviewers. If you're doing this, I imagine it would suggest both myself and Jan. It only suggests Jan's here, so I'm gonna request it from him. And when he does something, he usually requests it from me. And I'm gonna leave it like that. And click create pull request. And if I now head over to like Govdirectory, and I see that pull request, it now says 2, because there is a change coming in here. And now Jan or myself can have a look at this, and if it all looks good, we will actually test this. So if you make a change like this, we will take our computers and see what will this look like on Govdirectory. Will there be any issues, or will it look correct? And if everything looks good, we just click a button here and wait a while, and it should pop up on govdirectory.org. So that's how you do it. There are some like cases where it gets more complex, like we can actually take a look at a real world query of some kind, which we know are a little complex. So for example, an interesting case I think is Sweden, because if we look at the real Swedish query, we can see that it got values and then a union with new values. Because in Sweden we got government agencies which do not have the country set to Sweden. A perfect example of that would be, or embassies, they would not be in Sweden. So we just say jurisdiction Sweden. And therefore we do a bit trickery with that. So the SparkQL queries could be complex in a rather way. We even got like 2 unions here. Special case. So in Sweden we got a government agency which is its own type. It's like, because government agencies are generally split from the courts, but the courts themselves has like a agency to do all the administrative stuff, but it's not a government agency because it's not controlled that way, because it's related to the courts. So it's a unique type, and then we got a bit trickery for that as well. But other than that, it's rather straightforward, and as long as you have this unique instance offer things, it's generally quite easy. So another tricky thing, if I go back to Finland, would be the ministers. If we take a look again at that query, we see here that we do the subclass of query. So this is ministry. It's not Ministry of Finland. It's just minister. And then it gets more tricky when you do that type of query. So what one usually would do here is actually, once you have this finished, like we got here, we would go ahead and ensure that Finland got the Minister of Finland, because very often we can also connect that to the list articles on, for example, Wikipedia, which got this property in Wikidata that this is a list of, and then it's not ministry, it's ministers of Finland. So a lot of like good side effects come from this. So that is one of the things I wanted to show you. That's how to add a query once you got something in there. And if you run into trouble with this, just ping us and say like, hey, this country looks good enough. How can I add it? And we will be around like, yeah, we can show you and take you along the way. You actually don't need to leave Wikidata even for that. For example, let's say we're to Govdirectory on Wikidata. So let's improve the data. So if we go to Finland here, or let's see, head over to Finland. Let's say I wouldn't know how to add this, but I would have added the check marks and such. I could just go to the discussion, start the discussion, and say, hey, Albin, could you help me with this? And that's perfectly. Or ping Govdirectory the participants and such. And you will definitely get some help. So that's one. And actually, based on what Jan just did previously, another country we could do this for now would be that one. And I think we got a couple of ones in the queue. So yeah, I want to take a few minutes just to show something else. So we talked about the Autoidentifiers tools. And as you noted on Govdirectory before, is that we often got, let's see here, a lot of social media shown there. So if I go to the regions here, the query for it, I want to show how I usually add those. Let's see. Finland is a little bit tricky because some of them are rather remote tricky. Let's pick this one as an example. So what I usually do is that I go to their official website to try to find social media. And let's see, I need to make sure that I didn't already do this one. It got Instagram, I'm afraid in this case, but that seems to be it. Let's see if they got more on their website. Thank you, I like cookies. Oh, it's in Finnish, of course. That's a great example. Yeah, so this says Twitter, I'm pretty sure in Finnish, and Instagram, and this would be.
That's something else.
That's something else. So I'm gonna copy the link. I just right-clicked on it, and usually you have like a bunch of them, so you can just copy all of the links, and then I head over to the item, and I use this auto-identifier input, and I just paste in the link, and click add. Oh, and it says I've already done this, obviously, because up here it says a value for Twitter is already present. But if it would not be present, it would be a green box here saying that added Twitter. And then I could go ahead and like paste in the next URL, like YouTube, and add, and it would say YouTube and so on. So it's a very useful tool, and it makes this process of adding the various social media very quick. You just pick up the official website, copy everything you find in the footer, and put it in here. It makes for a very nice workflow, in my opinion. So also, I would like, as I develop this auto-identifier input, it would be great to hear your feedback on it if you use it yourself, so I can improve upon it even more. And yeah, I hope that was an introduction to how to add a country. And I imagine it could, like, because we did a bit of things outside of Wikidata and went slightly beyond SparkQL, but I hope it was still something that one can play around with. And in case it doesn't work out, just ping us and we are there to help.
Yeah. And you did show a lot of neat sparkle things there, so that was good.
Yeah, those queries they contain a bit of trickery, which are nice examples as well.
Which you might need for real world applications.
Exactly. So Govdirectory actually uses SparkQL for rendering of its pages and so on. So
Yeah.
that's how we do it.
Yes. All right. I think that's all for today. We will be back next week, and we have a sort of figured on a theme already for it, because on the same weekend it's a hackathon going on in the municipality of Södertälje, which is one of the perhaps top 10 in the top 10 largest municipalities in Sweden,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Just south of Stockholm.
Yeah. So we will have Södertälje as a theme, and we don't really know exactly what we're going to do, but I think we will do some few generic things that you like could, for any municipality, like
Yeah,
what could be
exactly.
interesting to query and work on. So
Yes.
we'll
So
use that as a base.
So I, for example, know nothing about Södertälje, I would claim, but I'm thinking like, what can you do about the city? I was just asking Jan this when we discussed this theme, and I was like, yeah, but I don't really know anything about it. But yeah, just generic things like nature reserves, sports teams, and so on. So I imagine we will have a lot of things where you can just replace the municipality and do something for your own.
So that's coming up next week. And until then, happy editing.
Happy editing.